Hey there. Today we're going to learn about slurs. Not ethnic slurs, guitar slurs. That's the fancy classical term for this, but usually on guitar we call them hammer-ons and pull-offs. Okay, and what that means is that we're going to play two notes on the same string, but we're only going to pluck the string one time. And depending on if we're going from a lower note to a higher note, it will be a hammer-on, or if we're going from a higher note to a lower note, it will be a pull-off. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's do the 3rd fret with our first finger, high E, and then I'm going to play the 5th fret with my 3rd finger, also high E here. Okay. That is not a hammer-on because I plucked it again. I pluck here, and then I pluck again. That's normal, right? That's just playing the two notes. If I want to do a slur, a hammer-on between these two notes, I'm only going to pluck once. And while the first note's ringing, I hammer down the other one. That's what a hammer-on is. It's a little tough. If you're new to guitar, this might be pretty challenging for you, but that's okay. You should give it a try anyway. You'll get better in time. Don't let that stop you. If you can't get it, don't get discouraged. That's normal. But you do want to work on this, and really this is how I practice getting strength in my left hand. As an advanced player, I really mostly work on these slurs and playing really fast. That ultimately helps get a lot of left hand control. So never the type of thing that you're ever really done practicing, unfortunately. So go ahead and start wherever you are and don't be afraid. Now, much like slides, hammer-ons are a pretty versatile technique. We can really hammer on to anything we can reach. So if I'm here, my first finger, I can hammer on to the 2nd finger. I can hammer on to the 3rd finger. I can hammer onto the 4th finger, and I can stretch the 4th finger and hammer on again. I don't do that one very often. That one is hard because where does the thumb go? The thumb needs to support this finger over here. It also needs to support this finger over here. So I actually find it's way easier if I move it a little bit closer to pinky. So it's still sort of center, closer to pinky. That actually makes that manageable. Once I'm going any further than that, maybe I could. Now that's really pushing it, so I probably wouldn't hammer on. Generally, I would say it's in our 4 fret range that we've discussed. So these big hammer-ons, well, kind of sound cool and are technically possible, not super practical. I would say that you'll probably go, about 4 frets at the most away with your hammer-ons, from the index to the pinky in its normal 4 fret range that we talked about earlier in a position. The most comfortable place to hammer on is between the 1st and the 3rd fingers. Those are our strongest fingers. Gets a little weird between the 2nd and 3rd, or the 2nd and 4th, or the 3rd and 4th. Okay, and I'm going to do a whole lesson where we do an exercise that way, where we'll practice them all. That's pretty advanced for where we're at in this lesson series right now, so we won't worry too much about all the different applications of it. I just want you to know what they are. So if you see that in your tab you're reading, maybe you're reading tab, which if you don't know what tab is, that's okay, that will be discussed as well. But maybe it will say O2 on the D string, but maybe they'll put a little thing over the top, which is what a slur is called in music. When we see that thing, we call that a slur. That's why these are called slurs. And sometimes they'll write a little H over the slur too to let you know that it's a hammer-on. And that means instead of going O2 regularly, we'll just play O and hammer on to 2. Pretty cool. Okay, so the opposite of a hammer-on is called a pull-off. Okay? I'm going to go back here. Kind of sounds like an ambulance or something. Anyway, a pull-off is the opposite of a hammer-on. It's the same concept. We strike the string once, and then we play another note without striking the string again. Pull-offs only work if we start on the higher note, and then we pull off to the lower note. Hammer-ons only work if we start on the lower note and we hammer on up to the higher note. just because of the way the string works, right? So pull-offs are a little bit more difficult than the hammer-ons, I think, because it's almost a confusing term. To pull off, you might just take your finger off. Hear how that's not loud enough for you to hear the note under that? And this is on electric guitar, by the way. The pickups are really helping facilitate this too. So if this was on an acoustic, you probably couldn't hear that second note at all. So what I do is I pull off, but I also sort of pluck the string. So let's say I'm just holding this one down. Now I'm not going to do a pull off. I'm going to use my third finger to pluck the string, kind of like how I would do it with the right hand. I'm going to do that. See that? You can actually pluck the string with that finger. Weird, right? So that's kind of like what we do. We put it down first and pluck it, and then we do that, and we kind of pluck the string with just the finger. Okay? So that takes a little while to get the hang of. You want to pull off, but you're also kind of pulling, you know, you're not just like removing your finger directly off the string. You're kind of going that way a little bit to pull it off. One of my favorite guitar players, Tony Rice, he does pull-offs where he kind of sometimes will flick his finger forward. Sometimes he'll pull it back this way, but you'll see him kind of flick it forward that way. That way is a little bit awkward for me. I was trying to imitate the way he does it just to kind of get a sense of it, and I'm not really sure if there's benefit to that or not, because for me it's just more comfortable to pull it that way, and I can still get into all the next lick. He was saying that he goes this way if he's traveling this way on the guitar, or maybe this way where he'll pull towards his hand if he's traveling that way on the guitar or something. So yeah, different schools of thought I've seen there, but in general I like to pull in towards my hand. I find that to be more comfortable and I get a better sound. So I would certainly recommend starting there, and then you can experiment after that. Okay, so those are hammer-ons and pull-offs. I'll do another lesson that's similar to our 4-finger exercise where we use hammer-ons and pull-offs the whole time. That's a little bit of an advanced exercise, but it's a very, very good one. So if you're feeling up to the challenge, please check that out. Otherwise, just keep plugging away on some of our other lesson material and you will be ready for that one in no time. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next lesson.